We're back on the Early Edge, brought to you by BetMGM, the sportsbook born in Vegas. And I'm joined by Danny Brasco and Alex Selznick. And that must mean we're talking NFL team betting previews. We go to the AFC South. We go to the Houston Texans. Brasco, I'm going to start with you. Last year, Houston lost to the Chiefs in the divisional round. With that said, some people think the Chiefs are going to maybe take a little bit of a step back. I don't know. Some people say the opposite of that, of course. Do the Houston Texans have any chance to dethrone a team like the Kansas City Chiefs?
I don't think they do, Sia. Even if the Chiefs do take that step back, I don't think the Texans added enough pieces in the offseason to take enough steps forward. Now, the outlook of their team is strong with the addition of Nick Chubb and Joe Mixon. They can be that powerhouse running back combo. But I have my worries about that offensive line with the departure of Laramie Tunsil to your Washington Commanders, Sia. Now it's Cam Robinson and Laken Tomlinson on the left side. I worry about Stroud's protection over there. I'm pretty high on their defense, so I think that behind this, this DeMeco Ryans defensive identity coach team, they're going to be able to get some wins here. But I'm not sure if those injury liabilities rear their head. We know Mixon had some ankle issues. Nico Collins had some injury issues. I worry that this team is not going to be able to take down the AFC powerhouses that'll probably outclass them.
I agree with Danny here. I think this team is very far away from a team like Kansas City or Baltimore or the elites, Buffalo, in the AFC. Just looking at the offseason, I think it's really hard to call their offseason a success. Their offensive line really struggled last year, and they got rid of their best offensive lineman in Laramie Tunsil. I also look at the defensive line, especially the interior, where there's just some major question marks. So while I like the skill position players on Houston, they have a great secondary. Looks like they improved their wide receiver core. There's just some big question marks in the trenches on both lines. I personally subscribe to that's where you build inside out. So I think this team's going to struggle, and I think the offensive line is going to struggle keeping CJ Stroud upright. So they're a ways away from the Chiefs. Fortunately, they're in a soft division. But yeah, I don't think this team got better from last year to this year.
Well, PropStarz, you mentioned it. They are in a soft division. So while I agree with you both, they're not the caliber of the Chiefs, or honestly, I think the Ravens are going to win it all. They're not the caliber of the Ravens or the Chiefs or some of these other teams we commonly talk about, like the Buffalo Bills, for example. However, they're in the AFC South. So PropStarz, when you look at their AFC South number to win the division, it's in that even money range. Is that value for you?
I think it's really efficient, personally. Again, they benefit from playing in that AFC South, very soft division. They should be favored, no doubt. But look at Jacksonville as a potential spoiler here. I just don't think the gap between Houston and the likes of Indianapolis, if they can get some viable quarterback play, or even a team like Tennessee, if Cam Ward ends up being better than expected, I just don't think there's a gap between the Texans and the rest of the division here. So considering the odds, I would personally put them more closer to plus 150, maybe even plus 200, considering the state of the division and Houston having not improved. So I'm staying away personally.
I'm totally in line with Proppy here. I mean, it's really a two-team race. I see it how he sees it. It's the Jags and it's the Texans here. And he's making the point plus 100. Yeah, I'd rather get a bigger number on one of those teams to potentially upset the Texans. But I do think that they're going to be able to at least sweep the Titans and win 4 of their divisional games. After you look at that, you got to see if they're going to be able to take care of some of those home games. They have a tough away slate. So it's going to come down to their ability to beat those teams in division. And the Titans should be 2 gimmies. Maybe they split the pair with the other 2, and that's enough to win the division. But it's going to be tight. A lot of 9-win teams out here potentially.
Well, I'll say this. While you guys agree, I vehemently disagree. I'm not a Texans guy, but the other 3 teams in this division, Titans aren't getting there. I'll tell you that right now. On the Early Edge this morning, I gave out their under win total. But I think the Colts are sneaky. I don't think Jacksonville, even with the upgrade at head coach Liam Cohen and all that, I don't think Trevor Lawrence is that guy, and I don't think they have the defense. It's the Texans' defense that I love here. So I'm just going to push back a little bit. I do think, I kind of agree that the number's efficient, by the way, but I do think they win the division. I would probably be willing to pay a couple of bucks to chase that plus 100 number down. However, let's just move to another question that always kind of goes hand in hand with these division numbers, and that's the win total. Danny, I'm going to start with you. Maybe this is efficient too. It's 9.5 for the Houston Texans. You did mention their schedule, and that's certainly pertinent. The over is even money. What do we like here, Danny Brasco?
They're right there on the cusp. I think the market got it right. They're a 9-8, 10-7 team. They went 10-7 last season. And examining their schedule, if we see them fairly similarly to their club last year, where we think they're going to rely on that defense, that Joe Mixon heavy style running game, and hopefully they can protect Stroud enough, let's predict the wins they can get. I mean, that's not an easy opener against the Rams, but they do have Bucks, Jags, Titans. They're going to have a number of games, like I mentioned, that they host at home that are winnable, but then they got to host the Broncos, host the Niners. They're at the Ravens. They have some tough, spurts in this schedule here. So while I said they can go 4-2, maybe even 5-1 in division if that defense is vaunted. Derek Stingley got re-signed. Maybe he plays his best ball now. And they add C.J. Gardner-Johnson, good veteran experience there. They were second in the league last year, Sia, in interceptions. So it's very opportunistic defense. If Stroud can stay upright, like Proppy mentioned, this team can win 10 games, but I'm staying away from it. Ending with Chargers, Colts in division, it's going to come down to those last two for sure. I see them, like I said, 9-8 or 10-7 at max. It's a pass for me.
I agree. I think the number is definitely efficient. I would personally think their floor, or make their floor, around 7 games. I think the ceiling for them is 11 games. So the 9.5 is exactly where I would set this line for them. They have somewhat of a soft schedule because of the division. But yeah, I just don't think this team really has a shot to win more than 10 games. So yeah, I'm personally staying away from the number, but also don't think there's any value in fading them either.
All right. Well, let's talk about things you do like. Alex, I'm going to go to your favorite Houston Texans season-long prop.
This was tough for me, Sia, but I went with a guy, Nico Collins, over 1,150 receiving yards. Initially, I wanted to see where he was to potentially lead the NFL in receiving yards, but to my surprise, he was the second shortest odds, right behind Jamar Chase, and that's because he's an absolute superstar. Nico Collins, when he has been on the field, has been as good as any wide receiver in the NFL. The yards per route run, a lot of the advanced metrics are just off of the charts for Nico Collins. He's had some durability concerns, but when he has been on the field, he has been dominant. So I think Nico Collins, if he gets in 13 games, can easily eclipse this 1,150-yard mark.
I'm liking the season win total. I mentioned it a couple times. In division season win total for the Texans, over 3.5 here. And like I mentioned, I believe they can go 4-2 at minimum. I think Cam Ward won't be quite ready for NFL play, and they're likely to get the 2 wins over the Titans, who they split with last season. More likely splits with the Jaguars and with the Colts here. They stole EJ Speed away from the Colts, a really sneaky good linebacker. CJ's talking about that. Sia is talking about some of those defensive additions. I think that's going to be a sneaky good one there, and maybe helps them defeat the Colts, who behind Shane Steichen could be sneaky. Still think the Texans are a little bit better than them. And again, Jaguars, Sia mentioned it. The secondary is leaky. You add Christian Kirk to pair up with Nico Collins, Tank Dell, if he's able to stay healthy, that wide receiver core could be really, really efficient. So I like the Texans in this division enough to at least get 4 wins, but that's where we like them, not necessarily to overtake one of these AFC powerhouses. In division is where you play them.
All right, I feel compelled to give out my season-long prop. It's in the awards market because, Danny, you mentioned the word sneaky, and I can't not utter this. Danielle Hunter is 80-1 for Defensive Player of the Year. This guy is awesome. He's 30 years old, just got extended 12 sacks last year. Will Anderson going to get a lot of attention on the other side. Danielle Hunter could have a big season, just throwing that out there at 80-1. All right, we got a minute left. I mean, it sounds like you guys are a little down on the Houston Texans, or at the very least, you're not finding a lot of value on the Houston Texans, which is certainly a fair argument. They are minus 140 to make the playoffs. Maybe in 20 or 30 seconds, Danny and Alex, give me your take. Are we taking the minus 140 yes on the Houston Texans to make the playoffs?
I'm going to go no. I'd rather lean towards the no. AFC's too loaded, Sia.
I agree. No, I think that Danny mentioned the way to play them is on the division. The only way they make the playoffs is if they win the division. They're not going to be a wild card. There's not going to be 2 teams, in my opinion, that advance from that division. So I'd rather take the plus 100 for them to win the AFC South than to take them to make the playoffs at minus 140.